So we're going to have a moment of silence, and then we're going to begin. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for ICONversations. If you are watching this on YouTube, smash that like button. Today, we have 5 of our amazing all-star top earning agents in the company. They are called icons. They represent the top 3 to 6% of earners at eXp Realty globally. Today from Ontario, we have Carrie Mantzunas. From Texas, we have Seth Prescott. From Saskatchewan, we have Scott Ziegler. From Indiana, we have Jared Cohen. And from Florida, we have the amazing Michelle Rinaldi. Michelle, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I am very happy to be here. We do have an amazing panel. We have Jared, who started his real estate career by investing, and now he just recently became a licensed broker. Scott is from Saskatchewan. I should be saying that right because I lived in Canada for 10 years. He is the go-to expert for Saskatoon. We have Seth, who is an accomplished commercial real estate agent, and Kerry, who is continuously being in the top 2% of the GTA. For those of you not in the know, that's Greater Toronto Area. So welcome, everybody. How are you guys all doing?
Great.
Great. Okay, I would love to just hear from each of you how long you've been with eXp, and then maybe just give us an idea of what either your sales volume is per year or maybe how many transactions you do. Jared, we can start with you.
Yeah, sounds great. I've been with eXp for a little over 2.5 years now. Icon 3 times this year. Be on pace to do about 27 to 30 million myself. And then I also run a team and we'll do about 60 million roughly in volume.
Amazing. And Scott, how about you? How long have you been with eXp? And can you just share a little bit about your sales volume with us?
Sure. eXp, I think 3 full years. I'm just starting my 4th year. I don't understand why we talk about sales volume. He just said he did 27 million. That doesn't tell me anything. Did he sell one $27 million home, or did he sell $27 million homes? Don't know. But I sell about 50 to 60 deals a year, and I don't ever track sales volume.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Seth, I actually have the same question for you, and you can let us know in any way you want what your sales volume is for the year or how many transactions you close.
Sure. So it's kind of hard. I don't really track that normally in that way either, but typically it's between 30 and 50 deals a year. And I do a lot of leasing as well. And so those deals will range from $500,000 in kind of gross consideration to, I don't know, million. 2 years ago, I helped the client buy a $20 million office building and a $17 million office building, and I just put a $6.3 million office building under contract. So
amazing. And I have to say, I am actually really excited to speak with you because you are the first commercial agent that I've had on the panel in all the times that I've moderated. So this is pretty interesting, especially for those agents out there in the audience who are interested in getting into commercial versus residential real estate, which is what I sell. I primarily sell oceanfront condos in South Florida. I track my numbers. I do maybe about 40 transactions a year, 20 million. I like to know because then I like to know my money. Kerry, how about you? Can you share a little bit about how long you've been with eXp? And
yes, I just had my 4-year anniversary birthday a few days ago.
Congratulations.
And I hit Icon for the 4th time in a row. I usually do between 30, 33 deals a year. I'm on pace this year to do 40 deals, which, in Toronto, we could get complacent if we look at the dollar figures. I agree with the gentleman that spoke before. So I always look at transactions. That's the only way you're going to grow. So I truly believe in that as well. And just solo agent, just by myself, and work my database. All that's from database.
Really impressive, really impressive. So, Carrie, I'm going to actually start with you because I was reading a little bit about you. I love your tagline that says, I wrote it down on
Let me carry you home.
Let me carry you home. I love it.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I love
Yeah.
taglines. Mine is, we don't collect listings, we sell them. So I think that's really catchy, and that kind of
Yes.
keeps you in mind. You know, people might not remember your name, but they'll be like, wait, how am I getting home? Oh, Carrie.
Yeah.
So I also read that you believe that there are going to be no surprises when buying and selling a property with you. Can you just expand to everybody listening how you ensure that there are no surprises either to your buyers or to your sellers?
Yeah, great question. The way I ensure that is the initial talk, whatever lead I have coming in, I ask a lot of questions to pre-qualify, which prepares me for the consultation, which is buyers. I actually bring them into my office for a consultation, and I go over all the scenarios so there's no surprises. I make sure they're pre-approved. All their documents are in with the mortgage person before I even meet with them. So the buying process, it's like there's no surprise at all. They know exactly what's going to happen. On the selling side, same thing, but I just usually meet them at their house when I have my listing appointment. But I'm very, I put the time in ahead of time, like putting the work in, communicating ahead of time. I put a lot of work ahead of time, but what happens after, the process happens so fast. I'll get my buyer something in a week, 2 weeks tops. Sellers, I'm usually selling the properties in a week or 2 weeks. Even in the market where it takes a month, 2 months to sell a property, I do it faster.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Definitely something that you should be proud of. Seth, speaking of pride, you have a passion that you get the deal done. So I had read that you pride yourself on getting the deal done. Can you just expand on what that means and how you get your deals to closing? I know a lot of agents, they're like, woo, we're under contract, and then things could blow up. But
Sure.
You're saying you get to closing, which is really the challenge, not just putting something under contract.
So, I've never done a residential transaction besides my own, so it's hard for me to know exactly what all you guys go through, to get a deal done. But our deals are very protracted. I've worked on deals for 4 years in the past, and they don't. Sometimes they don't make. And that was that 4-year deal was going to be $100 million cancer therapy center, and they just couldn't come up with the money. So, but when I say get the deals done, basically it's, be as proactive as you can be to think of what's going to happen next. And a lot of that just has to do with experience and knowing what to do, or, hey, I've seen this before. Let's head this problem off, or let's make sure that we're, communicating with everyone as much as possible so that there are no surprises. And again, not all deals close. For sure, for multiple reasons, and it's harder than ever with the interest rates the way they are. So all you can do is control what you can control and communicate as much as possible and be proactive to try to help people get the deal done.
I agree. When I look back 12 years, when I first got into real estate, and I kind of go through in my mind what deals didn't make it to closing, I think back and I said, wow, had that same transaction occurred today, 12 years later, I would have better been able to get to the end zone. Whereas, it comes with experience. It comes with failing forward, making your mistakes, learning from them, not harping on them, and turning them into growing experiences. And that's how we all learn. Scott, so you are the local expert. I pulled you up on YouTube, social media, and you are definitely the Saskatchewan local expert. I am the local expert in my market, oceanfront condos on Singer Island, but I want to hear how you propelled yourself to be the go-to person in your area.
Well, when it comes to the, I guess, the social media side of things, it's just taking action. I mean, I'm not necessarily the smartest guy when it comes to it. I kind of just I've always just done what I've been told. I mean, the gurus say post, okay, so I post, and I got a little bit better at it. And probably the biggest thing is consistency. So this summer will be, I think, 4 years now, where every month I put out a market stat video. I don't put a generic graphic up with an arrow pointing up and a 2% and a house beside it, like my clients are supposed to know what that means. I actually do a video where I decipher the stats, and it's like a minute and a half long. So I've done that now consistently for 4 years, and my database gets an email once a month from me with that market stat video. And then on social media, I just see what other people are doing, and oftentimes I just copy it word for word. I just make my own video with my own face on it, my own background. And then on the YouTube side of things, I mean, it's every new agent in their market should get on YouTube. And I took a couple of courses or seminars or whatever, just guru courses or whatever, and I just started posting, and I got a little bit better. But I think the key takeaway to all of it is just consistency. I don't post every day. Like I try to get 2, 3, 4 a month, 4, 5, 6 a month out there, try to make them quality, and I've done it consistently over 4 years, and it's paid dividends.
Very nice. So Jared, I'm going to kind of pivot here. I'd love to hear about your real estate business and maybe something that you found challenging. I know you started in investment, got your real estate license. Now you are a licensed broker. So I don't know if being a broker and having that experience and that has made it easier for you, having the additional knowledge. But I'd just like to hear a little bit more about your daily life.
Yeah, absolutely. Started out on the analytics side of investing. So I was a data analyst for quite some time prior to getting my license. So I never really invested on my own, but I saw the investment side from the back end perspective, running numbers, looking at projections. And then, when I got my license, I think that transitioned to working with clients. And one thing I pride myself on is taking someone from home ownership to investing after they've bought in their first, third, fourth home. Let's look at creating opportunities to create wealth and some residual income long-term for them. So that's been my biggest hurdle, is kind of pushing my clients into kind of that secondary motive of investing. And it's been fun. So I've enjoyed it over the last couple of years.
That's great. So I'd like to switch gears and talk a little bit about commercial real estate. I don't know if there's any agents out there who are interested in commercial real estate. I myself am a residential real estate agent. I did have a client who wanted to purchase a commercial building, and I very quickly realized I was a bit out of my wheelhouse. So I'd like to just talk to Seth, if you could maybe tell us a little bit about commercial real estate and how you kind of find that genre as opposed to, the residential side.
Well, it's hard for me to compare, again, because I've never done a residential deal besides my own house.
Okay, then just tell us about commercial real estate.
I got help with that, but I think I can offer some, anecdotal stuff. So I think, as I mentioned, our deals are usually much longer. I start working with people a year before they need to do something on the lease side, because there's so many facets to it. You have to work with so many different people. And I go on the residential side, you'll have to work with, different kind of groups of people as well. But for a good real estate deal to happen, commercial, you need to have an architect, typically, an engineer, an attorney, a title company if you're doing a sale. If you're doing a lease, you've got property managers, the leasing agent, the landlord. If it's a sublease, you also have the sub landlord and contractors, because almost every one of these deals involves construction. And so you, as the commercial real estate broker, kind of have to be the quarterback to make sure all those people are working together. And depending on which side of the deal you're on, whether the landlord or the tenant, is going to depend on, what your roles are and, what you have to push. And it's also true, and I'm sure this is the same way with the residential, but more so on the commercial side. I don't know how many agents on the residential side there are in San Antonio, but it's probably, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands probably. And there are probably 100 agents on the commercial side. So it becomes, you're working with the same people all the time. So on the residential side, I would imagine that you probably know some other residential agents, and you probably will do a deal with that agent multiple times in your career. But my world revolves around building relationships with the other agents at other companies, because I need to be able to call them. Yesterday I had a tour with an out-of-town client, and I've just signed up a guy from JB Goodwin, came over, and so I'm kind of mentoring him, training him in commercial. And so I literally just got off the phone with him, and he's like, "Man, I learned so much yesterday, just understanding, how it works." And again, I've been doing this for 25 years, so I don't even really think about it anymore. But when I started it, part of the commercial, what you do to become a good commercial agent is you have to work with not only the other agents, but all those kind of support people, and be able to understand what they do, when to call them in, make sure that you don't, screw up those relationships, So sometimes that's as much a part of the deal as it is like knowing, what to do. Whoops, I actually didn't hit my mute button. I don't know if that answers your question or.
It does. No, it completely makes sense. And my big takeaway from what you said was, in residential real estate, we keep working like our previous clients. I sell a condo to somebody, then keep in touch. 4 years later, maybe they want to sell, maybe they want to, downsize, buy something bigger, so I get a lot of, that constant repetitive business.
That's true in commercial as well. I mean, if you think about it, most leases are 3, 5, 7, 10 years. So, I've got a doctor client who I did 7 deals with last year. 7 different leases, but I also had to do a bunch of free work for him on assignments, because he sold his practice to this group out of Florida, and they were moving into Texas. And so, but then he turned around and he left and went 15 miles outside of the non-compete, and I just finished leasing him another space. So most of my business now is referral. And to begin with, it wasn't that. So from a challenge standpoint, new agents are going to be doing very different things than I'm doing now. You're going to be doing a lot of cold calling. You're going to be doing a lot of knocking on doors and trying to get business. So getting business and transacting business are 2 very different things. And it's also a different marketing strategy on the commercial side. Like, I never post on social media. I just happen to be running for the city council in my little town that I live in right now. So I've done more posting on social media in the last, month since I started running than I probably have in the last 10 years. I connect with people on social media and on LinkedIn, primarily for my business side, just more to have connections and network. But as far as, trying to get business that way, I don't really want business that doesn't come through referral sources unless I've gone out and called on someone to try and get it. Just because I have so many things going, I don't have time to keep up with a lot of new, random people that might just call in. That makes sense.
Completely makes sense. So my next question is really geared towards, I guess, everybody on the panel. What is one piece of practical advice that you would give to a newer agent who's just starting out? Sorry, we can start with Jared.
Yeah, I'll take this one. Kind of Scott mentioned it earlier, but I think he hit it on the head, just consistency and being in the business every day. I think a lot of agents try to, especially when they're getting going, doing it part-time. I think it's very tough. So I would just kind of urge and push you to go full-time and make it a routine, stay consistent, go to the office every day. If you work from home, start at the same time every day. That breeds results, in my opinion, if you can stay consistent.
Nice. How about you, Kerry?
Yes, I have a good one. Mindset. So, perfect example. Just before I came on the call, I went to grab some lunch quickly next door, and I ran into an agent that I knew from 20 years ago from my old brokerage. And, we caught up, and his mindset was so bad where he was just complaining about the market this, the market that, the market this. Meanwhile, this quarter, I had my best quarter ever in 20 years. But I'm getting the exact same objections he's getting because he was telling me, my clients are saying they're not ready, the interest rates, this and that. I get the same objections, but I keep on plowing through and calling more people in my database and asking for business. I ramped up my numbers 2 or 3 times than I usually do because the market has shifted, but I'm actually getting the business because I'm not letting the market affect my mindset, and I'm staying positive, and I'm just throwing out more conversations with people. So that's a perfect example because he's there grabbing lunch, just relaxing. I went in, ordered takeout, took my sandwich, came to my office to eat, to come on this call, and then I'm going to be on calls after this, calling my database. Total different mindset. So that's the best advice I could give a new agent is stop making excuses, stop saying it's the market, just go and work.
It's so true. And, that's why you're, a Hall of Famer. I love that. And you continually stay in that top 2% of your area. I would think my best advice would be just set your boundaries early on. I didn't set boundaries. And back when I was taking my real estate exam, I had met with a very seasoned agent who owned a brokerage and had a real estate teaching company. And he had said, Michelle, make sure you set boundaries. Don't let real estate consume you. Now, I hadn't even started working, and I'm like, consume me? Like, I just want to sell something, lease something. But I quickly realized that it's very easy for your buyers and sellers to now, especially with texting, to text, at any hour of the day or night, to call you. I answer the phone sometimes, and my seller will say, hey, Michelle, I know you have kids and it's dinner time, but I'm like, so why are you calling me? But I picked up the phone. So I did not set my boundaries. And I think that's what agents early on really need to consider. I don't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't want to. The way I don't even really work weekends. And if I'm still showing properties after 4 p.m., I'm like, come on. I like to get all my stuff done in a couple hours, do my computer work, and I have my boundaries. And that's how I decide to run my business. So that would be my best advice for a new agent. And have fun. I don't want, have fun. If you're not having fun, then find something else to do. Okay, so who haven't I asked this question to? Scott and Seth, I think you're my next two.
Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of things. A lot of it's been said already. This first piece to me is a bit of a long tail, but getting your database organized early in your career, and I did have my past clients, and they were kind of just all over the place, and I did reach out to them every now and then, but in the last, like I said earlier, kind of 4 years, I cleaned up my database. I routinely marketed to them, and I'm sure it would have been 3 or 4 times as big by now if I would have taken it seriously from the start. So again, that's not immediate business per se, but I think that the greatest asset an agent can have is their past clients, their sphere of influence, and their database. And if you can get that sorted now, or maybe you're not as busy or you have a bit more time, it will literally pay you millions of dollars throughout your career. And then I think the second thing, and this would be maybe a bit more immediate business, and I can't remember who went first, but being in the market. If you don't really have anything on the go today, pull up 3 or 4 vacant listings if there are any in a particular area of town you're going to be in, and just look at property. Talk to some agents. Go on social media, send a couple of DMs to people. It doesn't have to be about real estate, but just being in conversation and being active with people. You'd be surprised at how just a random conversation turns into business. And it's one of those, I don't know what the principle might be called, but when you're in motion and when you're taking action, even as like I said, if it's just previewing vacant properties, you'd be surprised at how that ball starts to roll and business starts to come. But if you're just sitting at home, kind of waiting for something to happen, it's not going to happen. So get out and do something, even if it's quote unquote wasting your time, because action breeds results.
Yeah, very true. I agree completely. And Seth?
So I'm going to sum up a lot of this stuff, and it's going to be a little longer probably, but man, I agree so much with everything everybody said. I may restate it a little differently. The last thing that Scott said, or the first thing he said, I have huge regrets about not building my database, because I have lost millions of dollars by not, having a very clean one. So definitely that. I think the next thing he said is learn the market. Completely agree. But then for newer agents, is don't give up. I mean, it takes a while to get going in this business. So just hang on. Be pleasantly persistent. It's one of my mottos. Get a mentor, or get on a team so you can learn. And I would say learn technology. If you struggle with that, I know AI is a huge thing. I don't necessarily use it a lot, but just learn technology in general and be very proficient at it, because it'll make your life a lot better. And then I can't remember who talked about this, but just working hard or hardly working. This is a saying that I've heard in the past, is like sales or real estate, since this is what we do is sales, can be the hardest job in the world if you take it easy or work it easy, but it can be the easiest job in the world if you work it hard.
That's awesome. I love that. Let's talk a little bit about marketing, because I know some of the newer agents coming in, that's like a big thing. When I first started out, I was being mentored by more seasoned agents, and the head of the team had said, okay, let's see where you want to spend your marketing dollars, Michelle. Like, it would be great if we can just, make it rain and send out mailers and flyers and magazine ads and all this. But we really need to be, conscientious, especially when we're first starting out. I'd like to hear from everyone on the panel about their best marketing strategies. So we can start with Jared.
Sure. Yeah, my best marketing strategies, I kind of group them into 2 categories. One I do, which is more of a organic kind of cultivate the relationship type marketing strategy. I host a monthly happy hour on the first Thursday of every month, and I invite clients, anyone in their network that they want to bring. It's kind of open to the public, anyone that wants to talk about real estate or life. And then my other group would be more of like a, pay for lead type strategy. I work with a couple online platforms that do direct consumer leads, directly to me and my team. So I kind of like to put them in two categories. One's more of a pay per lead and one is more of an organic approach. They both have their pros and cons. But I think trying to find what best fits you as an agent and your strategy. Obviously, the happy hours and the more organic approach is going to be a little bit more cost effective potentially, but it's going to be a little bit of a longer process to see that turnover and see that income. So.
Great. Scott, how about you?
Probably the wrong guy to ask because I'm cheap, and you'd be shocked at how little I spend on advertising throughout my whole career. The best form of advertising is to me is the free stuff. I mean, all the different social media platforms. The most money I ever spend on advertising is, I'll design a flyer myself. I'll go down to the local Staples or whatever, and I'll get it printed. I usually do black and white, and I usually put 2 to a page so I can cut it in half and stretch my dollar. And I'll use those flyers to go door knocking, or if I'm going after expired listings. Like all of my marketing really is sort of organic in the sense that it's social media or a couple little flyers. But I don't farm. I really actually don't believe that farming works all that well. Or I've never really seen any real great successes with it for the money that you have to invest in it. And yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I'm pretty cheap, so I use all the free things, and it's seemed to work well.
I think that's great. I would say you're conscientious about your money, not cheap. Unless you're on a date, then I could call you cheap.
I'm as cheap as they come. Don't worry.
Oh no! All right, my husband's Canadian, and he just likes to just pump money. He's a spender. If you say it's $10, he'll pay 15. Seth, how about you as far as marketing dollars? Well, and you're commercial, so this will be great. Like, tell us
Sure.
how that works.
I mean, it all depends on what you're doing, right? So if you're representing a property, your marketing is going to be very different than if you're going after a client. So in commercial, we have just a few resources to market properties, mostly being LoopNet and Crexy. We have another system called CoStar that's kind of like the commercial MLS, but we have to pay for that as well, like $500 a month. So that's exciting. So a lot of our marketing dollars go to, just things that we have to have just for market research. But as far as marketing toward, individuals or clients trying to get their business, I started out with cold calling, and I got, some of my first deals through that, just going and, talking to the office manager or talking to the doctor or the owner of the business, joining networks of, we call them lead networks. So like you get, there's one's called BNI. I don't know what it stands for, but basically you have, 20 or 30 people that all have a different industry. Some of them are copier sales guys. Some of them are, insurance agents, whatever, but you network with those people and, you bring them business, they bring you into deals. That's a really good way to market yourself to businesses. So I feel like business to business marketing is very different than individual marketing. And most of what you're doing on the commercial side is you're marketing to other businesses. And, again, that isn't generally social media. Not that you don't use it, but it's just not the same type of thing.
Great. And Carrie, can we hear from you, please, about just where your marketing dollars are best spent and what you can recommend to our audience?
Yes. So because I work my database, so I do a lot of calling my database. I'm very good at that and following up. And because of that, it's really, I'm not spending money on that. I'm just spending my time. And I get a good return that way. But what I do is when I have the client, like for example, if I list the property, I spend my marketing dollars there on nice brochures, virtual tour, anything to do with the house. Because I'm dealing with that client, my ultimate goal is to get them the most money, do the best job, to know that I put every effort. But then because I do put my marketing dollars there, it's easier to retain that client as well and to get referrals. And I specifically just spend it all in my database. So that's one way. Another way is with my top clients, I usually do one-on-one lunches, or I'm big on sports, and I deal with a lot of professional athletes as well, with relocating athletes for example, I helped one of the Toronto Blue Jays player this year that passed, an NFL player, CFL player. So I've been very involved with sports growing up and with real estate. So I would take my clients. I had season tickets for the Raptors, and I took my top clients. I would pick, and I would take them to every game. We'd go for dinner before, go to the game, got connected better. So I do more one-on-one stuff with my database, and I find that pays off. And pre-COVID, I did a party. I do a party every year for my database as well, where I rented out a movie theater, and I did a big event at a movie theater as well. I'm going to start doing that again now that COVID is pretty much gone. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I find, like, again, like, I feel good because I'm giving back to my database. Like, I'm not just throwing money out to see if I could get new people, because your database is a gold mine. It's like you thank the people, you spend the money there, and you get business back, and you're gonna also attract the same type of people. This is a key thing, because sometimes you could do marketing dollars and spend them everywhere, but you don't know what type of client you're gonna get. But usually when you have a specific type of client, the people they associate with themselves with are similar. So you'll kind of attract the same type of person. And if that gives you less problems, you're more targeted. And I choose who I want to work with. So I find it takes a bit longer, like, to get to that point, but when it starts to roll, it doesn't stop if you keep on staying in touch with people. So.
Yeah, in the chat box, an audience member had asked, can you please name the pay for lead companies that you recommend? So for me, I sell mostly secondary condos. So I'm targeting most people who are not in South Florida. So I do invest a lot in Zillow. I know I'm going to get like a mixed bag response, but it makes me a lot of money. And that is how I find and get new buyers. I've also gotten sellers on it. However, to make it be successful, you do need to dump a lot of money there. So I can really appreciate some of what these other, well, as Cheap Scott said, think where you're putting your money. If you want to not spend a lot of money, or you don't have the money to spend, then think of other ways. And what I would do, especially if you don't maybe have a listing, is go and preview the listings, take some videos of it, maybe post on social media. And then if you can, call the other people that live in the neighborhood, not to solicit their business, but just to say, hey, there's this house on 123 Main Street. Didn't know if you knew it was on the market. Are you looking to maybe get a home with a bigger lot? And then you develop a conversation, because you're sharing information. You're not really asking for anything. And then you make connections that way. But as far as the pay for lead companies, I do invest a lot in Zillow, and I do try to keep my sphere entertained by posting a lot on social media. So that's kind of where I generate a lot of my leads from. And then, of course, repeat clients, referrals and things of that nature. Next question. So
as a follow-up to that, my old boss used to tell me that the first rule of real estate is to go talk to the neighbors.
It's brilliant. I mean, and it's so simple. Like, I'll even tell agents, like, if you want to start, working in a specific community, go there. Why don't you just go to all of the homes that are listed and walk through them? It's free. you'll get information and you show your face, and then people see you around the community. When I go to, my condos that I primarily sell in, I talk to the office manager, I talk to the cleaning staff, I talk to the maintenance men, I talk to anybody in the elevator, and they'll usually say like, hey, did you just, I don't no, I'm Michelle Rinaldi. I have a listing on the 3rd floor. Super nice to meet you, and just strike up a conversation very organically rather than, kind of shove it in everybody's face. So and I agree completely. You have to get out there. What do they say? Don't be a secret agent. Like, don't hide, kind of let people know and roam around in the area where you do want to break into or you do want to work.
Not to interrupt you, but the other thing that came to my mind is another thing that I've heard is 80% of life is showing up.
Exactly. And on time. I mean, time is huge. When I show up to show somebody's listing and I'm sitting there waiting with my buyers and I'm like, where is this listing agent? And they kind of roll in. I'm like, well, it kind of just takes away from the professionalism. I like to get to my listings early, turn on the lights, have it prepped, then meet them downstairs. And with my buyers, get there before them. Don't be the last one to the party. So that's kind of, it's huge. So I'd like to know, especially from all the agents on the panel, you guys are very busy. You do a lot of transactions. You have a lot of business. You have a lot of calls, people coming to you. Is there any part of your business that you delegate out? And if you do, can you just share with us what you delegate out and how? I'm very OCD. I like to do everything myself. And I find that spending 3 hours on Sky Slope is not where my time is best used. So I'd like to start with Jared and just know, do you delegate any of your daily work out? And how does that look like in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I delegate 2 pieces. I've got a full-time admin that is on the marketing side and back-end organization. And then I also outsource all of my transaction coordination. So during the deal or during the escrow period, all the paperwork is handled by Rachel, my transaction coordinator.
Very good. Scott, can you share with us, do you delegate anything out or do you take care of your entire business yourself?
No, remember, I'm cheap.
I know you are.
No, you know what? You hit the nail on the head there with Sky Slope. I'd rather jump off a 10-story building than spend 2 minutes inside of Sky Slope. So I do have a transaction coordinator that essentially when I get a piece of completed paperwork, I email it to her, and she uploads it into Sky Slope and that kind of stuff for me. So that's really the only piece that I delegate out. But the tricky thing is, and I said this earlier when I talked about, database management, and I made the comment that when you're newer in the business and you maybe have a bit more time, like this is the time to get those systems in place. And I know that I need to delegate more. Like I'd like to start to, build out my database and create some lead magnets and get them out there. And it's probably not rocket science, but I don't have the time to figure it out. And I almost don't even have the time in the spring market to outsource it because, that takes some time as well. So I definitely know that I should be, at least getting some outside help to create some systems and get them organized to a point where maybe I could take over a bit more. But yeah, I would think, transaction coordinator should be almost a must. You don't necessarily need a quote unquote assistant, but transaction coordinator. And then, if you want to do something a bit more techy, like I wouldn't be spending a lot of time inside of your website and creating funnels and all that kind of stuff. Those types of things should be, handled by somebody else that can do it way more efficiently.
Seth, how about you? Do you delegate anything out in your business?
I'm with Scott on jumping off of a 10-story building. I'd probably go a little higher, make sure I didn't survive. But anyways, no, I definitely have I have a girl in the Philippines that helps me with pretty much all the back end of Sky Slope. And I try to get her to do other things that she can do. If I can think about it, I'm OCD about certain things as well, and so it is hard to delegate some of what I do because it's not consistent type work. It's not like fill in the blanks, whatever, you can just do it. But as many things as I can delegate, I do, and I wish that I could do more.
I agree. I wish it was like in my DNA to delegate more out. I will delegate out showings to a buyer's agent, which is my husband. I will delegate out prepping a property for, showings, cleaning up anything that is messed up, repairs, all of that gets taken care of by my husband. Um, so I delegate that out. However, like the other day, I had to have a photo shoot taken for one of my listings. And I'm like, I can't go. And sure enough, when the pictures came back, I was just like, I'm not a photographer, but I know that you shouldn't be taking pictures of an entire room from one wall to the next. And I'm like, that's what happens when I'm not there. So then I kind of regret delegating too much out. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Kerry, you have anybody on your team that you work with that you delegate some responsibilities to, and how are you able to handle that and feel comfortable not just micromanaging every aspect so it's done to the perfection where you would have done it?
Well, I let go about 5 years ago when I hired an assistant. I had an assistant for 3 years full time, but the last 2 years I've had nobody. My business has still been going up, but I know I could do a lot more. And it's not that I haven't been looking. I've been looking for someone. I haven't been looking hard enough, but I need to start getting back on delegating because as a business owner, I know my numbers. So for example, up until this point, based on per, I would say, hour of lead generating that I do, I make about $1,900 an hour. So if I hired somebody for $30 an hour as a business owner, it makes total sense. So I should hire somebody as soon as possible. That's my answer.
I think that's great. Okay, we are. I hate to do this. We're rounding out till almost 20 to 1. I actually have to go show condos at 1. And ironically enough, this buyer was a Zillow lead. And she's looking at $5 million condos with her husband today. So it's something I definitely don't want to be late for.
Don't be late.
Yeah, and I also don't want to blow smoke up anybody's ass and let you believe that all my Zillow calls are $5 million buyers, because they are not. I get a lot of junk ones too, but that's where all the big money comes in, because you weed them out to get, to what you want to work with. So I do have to say goodbye. Brian's going to take over for me. Jared, Scott, Seth, and Kerry, it was my pleasure getting to know all of you more. Thank you so much for your time. Brian, I'm leaving this to you now.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And it actually looks like we're at the end of the show. So I want to thank you all for coming today. This has been a fantastic show. Michelle, drive safe, and I will see you next time. Message me. If any of you out there in the audience are watching this and you are in an active ICON benefit year, I have a little gift for you here. I'm going to put it in the chat. You can fill out this mastermind survey form and get a couple of points for your cultural commitment. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, smash that like button. We are here every Friday at 8:45 a.m. Pacific time. So come join us. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Did the link work for everyone out there in the audience? I see you out there, Summer. It's good to see you here. I know you can't open your mic, but it is good to see you.